Well, hey everyone, and welcome back to the BSA Big Give. For this hour, we are going to be learning about packing for a weekend trip that involves some hiking. This will be a live question and answer session, just like the hour prior. So if you've got questions, feel free to post those on YouTube or Facebook, and we will get to them just as soon as we can. But we have our local camping, hiking expert with us to walk us through what it takes to pack and to be prepared for this. So if you could, our expert, introduce yourself with your first name, your unit, and your rank, please.
So my name is Caleb. I'm from Unit 110, and I'm an Eagle Scout. And I'm just going to show you how I pack for a hiking campout. The first thing that I usually do is I think about what I need to be on the bottom, which is usually my clothes. Like in here already, I have jeans, t-shirts, sleepwear. Usually when I do that, I think, so when you always, can't think of what I'm trying to say. When you always first stop, you always put your tent or I like to use a hammock. Whenever I use that, I always take that out first. I don't change my clothes first. So I put that on the bottom.
So when you say go to prepare for something like this, do you just do you think about what you need and just throw it in the bag all willy-nilly, or do you have kind of an idea of what to bring depending on, where you're going or what the weather might be like? So how do you start figuring out what goes into the bag in the first place?
When I first know the date or the general month that the campout's in, I think of that. Like if it's in July, I want to bring shorts, t-shirts, not jeans and sweatshirts and just big bulky clothes. But if I'm going in January, I want to bring a coat, a stocking cap, just anything that you really need to stay warm, because that's the main thing in January.
Okay, so you were talking to me about starting with the base of the pack and then kind of building your way up. Can you tell me why it's important to layer your things? Why would you start at the bottom and consider what goes there?
So when you consider what goes on the bottom, you don't want to go through your entire bag just thinking, okay, I have my food items in the very bottom that's not very accessible.
Mm-hmm.
You want the stuff that you need first, very accessible, that you need, that's easy to get to.
Mm.
So usually after the clothes, my troop always brings a Class A, which I have on, and a Class B. Our Class B is just gray with a troop logo that just says 110. And no matter what weather, I always bring a sweatshirt with me. This is just a regular sweatshirt. Even if it's cold, windy, you really don't know until you actually get there, because you can never really fully trust a weather app or website, because I've had times where it said it's 70 and sunny and it's pouring rain out when I get there. So you always got to prepare for the worst.
Yeah, and what you said there is being prepared, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's definitely one of those ways that you do that.
I'd definitely rather overpack than underpack, because I've underpacked quite a few times and it's not the best time that I've had.
Okay.
So after all of that, I usually start thinking about what I am bringing to sleep in. And for me, most scouts sleep in a tent, but I sleep in a hammock. It is more lightweight. It's more comfortable, in my opinion. So the first thing that you need is just a regular hammock. It's very nice. They're considered not too bad for price.
So when looking at hammocks, because I've always done tent camping, I've never actually stayed overnight in a hammock. So what makes a good spot to put your hammock up?
I usually like to think of, you don't want to do dead trees, because if you, I was in a Medicine Mountain over in the Black Hills. I remember having a a story about a kid who had a tree fall on him because he put his hammock on a dead tree.
Okay.
So you always want to find 2 living trees, and about 10, 12 feet apart. It depends, but you don't want to have if you can mostly put your arms around it. It's the best one.
Okay.
Because you always need you can't have too big of a tree, or else you can't put your hammock straps on them. And these is what you put your hammock on. It's what holds your weight the most. And these are just big, long strands that have little holes in them. And you put your carabiners on there. And this is probably one of my, I never think how somebody would invent this.
Sure.
I just don't understand it.
But it must work pretty
Yeah,
well, though.
it works great.
That's great.
Next thing is when you're in a hammock, you always think about mosquitoes.
Mm.
So you have a mosquito net, which before you put your sleeping bag in, you always think about I've always had mosquito bites. So this is just a mesh layer. It's kind of it's just mesh, I would say. And you just put it in before you put anything in, and it just got a zipper on it that you put in and out, that you put it on there. And it's probably one of my favorite things.
So you seem like just our local expert. It seems like you've been on many, many campouts. Could you tell me a little bit about the different outdoor experiences that you've been on that kind of teach you these lessons that you need to learn?
It's really a big way to help is from your friends. If you don't know what to bring, ask like, hey, friend, what should I bring? It's because if you ask a more experienced scout, which is what I usually did, I know better what to bring and what to be prepared for. When I did not do that, I remember my first winter camp out in about 10 degrees. I didn't bring enough socks, which may sound really weird, but my feet froze and I was so close to getting frostbite. So that's a big thing that I learned. Whenever you pack, you got to think of what's not the unexpected that's going to happen.
That's very good. So of the things that you've been able to go and do, what were some of the most memorable experiences? What was one outdoor event that you went to that will stay with you forever?
A few years back, my troop went on a camp out to South Dakota. It was an 11-day process. We went to a place called Ponca on the way, and it took 2 days to get there, I think, and we spent 6 days there in Medicine Mountain, which is one of my favorite summer camps besides Camp Cedars. And then we took 2 days back, and we spent an entire day hiking, as I'm showing. We spent an entire day on the trail. It was about 12 hours.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So I see some other things that should be going into a pack. So let's talk a little bit about the first aid kit. Can you walk me through? So why is it important to bring a first aid kit with you, and what kinds of things do you want to make sure that everybody has when thinking about outdoors and hiking and things of that nature?
So whenever, this is probably one of the first things I think about is what I should bring into a first aid kit. Most of the time I just have a regular first aid kit, but whenever, it depends on how long it is, if I should pack more of something or less of something. The biggest thing that I put in one of these is Band-Aids, more or less rope, because say somebody breaks leg. I had one time at that same camp out in Black Hills when we were hiking, one of our kids sprained an ankle. So we put a splint on that and we piggybacked him down the entire mountain. But Band-Aids, you got to have ointment. Alcohol prep pads is a very good thing. And I like to use moleskin for whenever you get blisters on like your foot. It's always good to put those on top of it, because whenever you do that, it's less to get infected.
Okay. We actually have a question from one of our viewers. Bree in our chat wants to know what is one of the biggest challenges that you faced when camping?
Um, hmm. The biggest challenge is probably, got to think about this one. However much you should pack, because if you're going on a weekend camp out, you can pack light, or sometimes you can overpack way too much. It just depends on how long it is and where you're going. When I went on my camp out to South Dakota, I brought, instead of this, I had a big plastic chest that I held on my clothes, because this can't hold 15 pairs of clothes. So it's just it's more pre-planning is the most challenging part, because you need to know what to plan.
That's really good. So we have another question in our chat. Maddie would like to know, what is the coldest place that you've ever hammocked?
The coldest place I've ever hammocked was Ponca, Nebraska. It was, can't remember the exact temperature, but I know it was below 0. And the way I do that, I don't just have my hammock and my sleeping bag. I have this thing called an underquilt. I don't have it with me right now. It's basically half a sleeping bag that goes underneath your hammock.
Okay.
Because when you're on a tent, you put your, you just have the ground, and then you have your regular sleeping bag. But you have, when you're in a hammock, you have that wind going underneath you that you need to compensate about that too. So an underquilt is a very good thing. Just clips onto those hammock straps, and lots of wool blankets is what really helps.
Well, and a follow-up question to that, where is the coolest place, like just most beautiful, coolest place you've ever hammocked?
I'd probably say Medicine Mountain. In there, it's kind of in a valley, so you get a very good look of the Black Hills forest, and it's the camp is quite literally in the forest. You take 10 miles into a gravel road, and you're in the forest, and there's very few buildings. It's more just forest, and that's probably one of the most beautiful places that I've been.
I love it. Okay, so I'm looking over some of the gear that still has to get into the pack. So I notice you've got a compass there with you. I mean, if you know where you're going, why would you need a compass? Why do you make sure you always have one of those?
I like to carry a compass because a lot of people have told me you never know when you're going to get lost. So I usually don't put this in my pack. I usually keep it in my pocket. But if you don't have a compass, I always like to say focus on the sun, because if I'm correct, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and that'll be very helpful with you. And if you're ever lost, I always like to say keep walking north, because you always find a road. Then just follow that.
I love it. I love it.
So next thing with my hammock is I don't like using a flashlight in my hammock, because then I'll lose the flashlight and I don't know where I'm going. So I have these lights that I found. They're basically Christmas lights, but you string them around a string that you have on top of your hammock. And they're very nice. They're very compact, and they don't take up a lot of space.
That's awesome.
Next thing I do is my rain fly. It may seem pretty small for a rain fly, but this is everything I need. It has some string to hold it down, and this covers the entirety of it. The worst thing that I've had done is on a very windy day, this blowing under me, and then I can't go to sleep because all I hear is it rubbing against my hammock, and then I have to get out and then put it back together. So
I've got a question, and as we're continuing to go through this, so outdoors, best classroom that we have. Can you tell me about some of the life skills that you've learned from being in the outdoors and from just going through either the preparation or some of these other stuff? What are some skills that you'll have?
The biggest skill that I've had is probably preparing for anything. Because when I first started camping, I'm like, okay, I just need clothes and a tent. I'm pretty sure the first camp out I went on didn't even bring a sleeping bag because I didn't think of it. Preparing has helped me a lot, especially even like going to school. I like this school year, I'm a senior, so and I didn't know how many notebooks or stuff I needed. So I bought, say, 4 notebooks, but I really only need 1. So I over prepared for it, but I'd rather be over prepared than not have enough items.
Absolutely.
So probably preparing would be the best thing.
So I see that you're an Eagle Scout. Congratulations. How would you say that camping and being in the outdoors helped you on your path to being an Eagle Scout?
It showed me a lot more. It really helped me with my merit badges, especially with cooking. One of my favorite times in my cooking merit badge was when we were with my first meal on during a hike, which I just had. It's pretty simple. I just had to boil water and put it in some freeze-dried food, but it was actually quite good. You'd be surprised how some of those meals are really tasty. But when you when you always think of hiking, you just think of somebody with water and just like hiking sticks. But it's a lot more to that, because if you're doing multi-day, then it's a lot more important to prepare.
Absolutely. Okay, so I see some other kinds of accoutrements here. Is that a water bottle, that big thing right there?
Yeah, this is a water bottle. I think it's like 2 liters, 3 liters. When you're hiking, you really don't have that much access to water. So I always carry a big water bottle. Sometimes I even have Camelback on me. But if I don't have that, I always carry a big water bottle, because if you just carry a regular small water bottle, you're going to run out very quickly, and there's not a lot of fresh water.
Well, and we're getting pretty close to time, and so I certainly want to check out the rest of what you have going on there. I think I see a can of Campbell's soup, which is always good to be prepared for that. But I'm just kind of curious, for those who aren't familiar with Mid-America Council camps. I had heard you say that Camp Cedars was one of your places that you like to go. Can you tell our viewers who may not be familiar what kinds of stuff that you get to do at Camp Cedars and some activities that you enjoy?
Camp Cedars is my favorite summer camp that I've been to. By the means of what you can do anything there. I actually worked there for 3-ish summers, and I've made a lot of friends that I'm still friends with now. You can do anything from horseback riding, climbing our rock wall, to learning about how to identify poison ivy. It's anything and anything you can think of, and they have a great program that I want to go back to every year.
I love it. Okay, so very quickly, kind of in a lightning round sort of way, in the next 2 minutes, can you explain what else that we have on the table and why it's important to have it to be prepared?
So in this big jumble of stuff, I have tent stakes, which help me put my rain fly down, and just a bunch of rope that adds on to it. It's a little bit of mess, but it's organized to me. Next thing I have is my my stove, which it may just look like a bag, but it's actually my stove that I heat everything on, if I can get it out. It's very compact, and I actually got it for Christmas a few years ago, and it's probably one of my favorite things that I use quite often. And then you just twist it onto my gas tank, which I always put between something soft, because you don't want this getting hit by something and starting on fire.
That's wise. That's wisdom right there.
Next thing I have is my meal prep. This is chicken gumbo. My favorite thing to always bring is just a can, because you can either put it in a bowl or something, and then you can heat it up, or you can just rip off the label and heat it up like this. Then I have my utensils for just eating. And like I said, with the chicken gumbo, I usually carry a little thing for me. And this has 2 cups in it for whenever I want to make like hot chocolate or anything.
Very cool.
With that, have my knife. I usually carry this in all of my camp outs. It's a it honestly helps me cut wood more than anything. All I need is a big stick and another stick, and I just pound it on, and it's really nice.
Okay. And it looks like we have a flashlight, chair, hat, sunglasses, all very good stuff. I'm surprised. I wasn't sure if all of it was going to fit in there, but it looks like there's a lot that goes into thinking and preparing, and I'm sure a lot of it was trial and error, especially with the frozen socks. Winter camping will teach you quickly what to bring and what not to bring. But Caleb, I want to thank you so much for taking time to share with us your experience and everything that goes on into packing for these things, but also to share with us what it's like to be in the outdoors, the lessons it can teach our young people, and moving forward. Um, so now I just want to ask one final question from our audience. So what is, if you could go anywhere in the world to camp and to hammock, where would it be? You haven't gone there yet. Where would you like to go?
I'd probably want to go to probably around Asia, because it's just a very beautiful scenery, and I'd love to go on top of a peak where just two beautiful trees are, and just watch the sunset over a beautiful horizon. That would be just my favorite place to hammock.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. Well, just so you know, we do have this thing called a giving tree outside of our scout shop, and on it are opportunities for kids who don't have the ability to have all of this really cool equipment, to have folks come alongside of them and purchase those items so that those scouts can have just these necessities moving forward. So for more information, please call us at the Scout Shop to learn more. I want to thank everybody for tuning in on this hour on our BSA Big Give Day. We have lots more to go, including our grand finale here at 6 p.m. this evening. So I would encourage you to keep tuning in and to challenge you to do so. But for Caleb and Daniel, thank you so much for tuning in this hour.
Thank you.